All right, well, within just the last hour, Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin held a press conference talking about the serious concerns the administration has about Facebook's digital currency project, Libra, saying it could potentially be misused by terrorists, making a lot of other negative claims on the space. Of course, anyone in the crypto world thinks this was actually good news for cryptos. Jessica Smith is standing by in D.C. with the latest. Jess, kind of a wide-ranging conversation, you could say, here with Mnuchin and reporters.
Yeah, covered a lot of topics, but we started out talking about cryptocurrency, what everyone here in Washington has been talking about for the past few days. And Mnuchin says Treasury has very serious concerns that Libra could be used for money laundering or financing terrorism. He says this is a national security issue. He says that regulators have met with Facebook to express their concerns, and he says Facebook needs to put safeguards in place to prevent money laundering, prevent financing terrorism. He says he has talked extensively with Fed Chair Jerome Powell about this, and he says Facebook has a long way to go before regulators are comfortable with this. He says that there's a lot of work to be done to convince them, and he says right now, today, he would not be comfortable with a launch. Facebook isn't trying to launch today, but for what it's worth, he says he would not be comfortable. Here's what he had to say about cryptocurrency.
If you're dealing with a legitimate entity in the U.S., those legitimate entities that are attached to crypto are indeed subject to the Know Your Customer rules and AML. If you're looking to use Bitcoin to go through those entities and go on the dark web and think you're not going to get caught, you're going to get caught. So this is a warning. If you want to use it for speculation, that's one thing. If you want to use it for illicit activities, we're going to put the full effort of the U.S. Treasury and the regulators onto that.
So he was talking about cryptocurrencies in general there, and he said he wanted to have this conversation because not many people, he says, knew about cryptocurrencies until Facebook came out and talked about Libra. Then he said there was just so much interest in it that he wanted people to know what Treasury was doing on that front. So again, like you mentioned, crypto community will probably be pretty happy about that, even though it was a very negative tone throughout his press conference there. He also at one point said Bitcoin is volatile and based on thin air, and again said he wanted to keep bad actors from using cryptocurrencies. And he talked about the need for international rules to make sure people aren't using cryptocurrencies for illicit purposes. And he said he will be talking about crypto regulation and Libra when he meets with his G7 counterparts later this week. Miles.
All right, Jessica Smith live in D.C. You know, Emily, we talk a lot about how crypto is very similar to the marijuana industry, which I know you cover closely here. And it's funny today just watching everyone in the crypto space say, well, even though Mnuchin is saying bad things about crypto, it's still good because he's talking about it. I kind of feel like this is the same thing that happens in the cannabis space.
Right. I mean, Bitcoin's up 6% right now, so that just goes to show. And I think it was last week after President Donald Trump said, I'm not a fan of Bitcoin, Brian Armstrong, CEO of, I believe it's Coinbase, actually came out and said, achievement unlocked. You know, I've been dreaming of this moment where a sitting president would be talking about cryptocurrency in a way that makes it mainstream, if, you know, not favorably, but at least it's being talked about.
And I also think the fact that David Marcus, he's the guy who's in charge of Facebook's Libra plans, him basically saying that they will cooperate with regulators. They know that Libra is going to face some sort of regulation. They're going to get it worked out in their time frame. He seemed very confident. This is all according to his remarks that were released ahead of his testimony tomorrow and Wednesday. But I think just kind of putting a positive spin on that earlier before Mnuchin talked, I think also is helping these crypto markets, which don't seem to ever really want to go down for that long of a time, move higher.
Well,
recently, at least.
Well, unless it's 2018.
The first half of 2018.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.